Hi there, 8th grade. Welcome to Tuesday of week 3 of remote learning. You do have a quick write-up under the classwork tab, so check that out. Remember 5 complete and quality sentences. Your quick writes this week for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are all due Friday at 2:30 p.m., okay? And your Friday quick write is due Monday at 2:30 p.m. So make sure you're doing those every day and getting those turned in. So I hope you read the description of this video so that you know you need your textbook. If you do not have your textbook, pause the video now and go grab it, please, okay? So we are moving on to the next story in our unit, which is called 3 Cheers for the Nanny State. So today I'm going to give you a little summary of what we're reading, a little background. We'll talk about your concept vocabulary just a little bit, and then I'm going to give you the first read. So when I do that, I'm going to read the story to you, and I want you to follow along, okay? So 3 Cheers for the Nanny State. In the opinion piece, 3 Cheers for the Nanny State, Sarah Conley argues in favor of government interventions that encourage people to be healthier. She argues that as much as we would like to think we are totally rational and know what's best for us, we do not. People predictably and routinely make mistakes that prevent them from getting what they want. Therefore, making it harder for people to buy large sodas will help them be healthier. So this one is about being healthy, standing up for what you believe in the fact of being healthy. Take a look at page 276 and take a look at your concept vocabulary. So we're going to rank them from most familiar, number 1, to least familiar, number 5. So you should only have 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, and 1-5 here, okay? So these are the words you're going to encounter. As I read them, write your ranking in the your ranking box, okay? Impose, impose. Rational, rational. Justifiable, justifiable. Principle, principle. And status quo, status quo. Take a look at principle. This is not the principal like Miss Witzel, okay? This is principle P-L-E, okay? So double check you have your ranking done. You should have numbered 1 through 5, okay? All right, so a little background about this story. The term nanny state is a negative nickname for a welfare state, which is a model of government that takes direct responsibility for the protection and well-being of its citizens. Welfare states offer basic social support, such as free health care or low-income housing, but also create laws and policies that attempt to control or influence how people behave. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to read this. Please follow along. Why has there been so much fuss about New York City's attempt to impose a soda ban, or more precisely, a ban on large-size sugary drinks? After all, people can still get as much soda as they want. This isn't prohibition. It's just that getting it would take slightly more effort. So why is this such a big deal? Obviously, it's not about soda. It's because such a ban suggests that sometimes we need to be stopped from doing foolish stuff. And this has become, in contemporary American politics, highly controversial. No matter how trivial the particular issue, large cups of soda as symbols of human dignity? Really? Americans, even those who generally support government intervention in our daily lives, have a reflex response to being told what to do, and it's not a positive one. It's this common desire to be left alone that prompted the Mississippi legislature earlier this month to pass a ban on bans, a law that forbids municipalities to place local restrictions on food or drink. We have a vision of ourselves as free, rational beings who are totally capable of making all the decisions we need in order to create a good life. Give us complete liberty, and, barring natural disasters, we'll end up where we want to be. It's a nice vision, one that makes us feel proud of ourselves, but it's false. John Stuart Mill wrote in 1859 that the only justifiable reason for interfering in someone's freedom of action was to prevent harm to others. According to Mill's harm principle, we should almost never stop people from the behavior that affects only themselves, because people know best what they themselves want. That almost, though, is important. It's fair to stop us, Mill argued, when we are acting out of ignorance and doing something we'll pretty definitely regret. You can stop someone from crossing a bridge that is broken, he said, but you can be sure no one wants to plummet into the river. Mill just didn't think this would happen very often. Mill was wrong about that, though. A lot of times we have a good idea of where we want to go, but a really terrible idea of how to get there. It's well established by now that we often don't think very clearly when it comes to choosing the best means to attain our ends. We make errors. This has been the object of an enormous amount of study over the past few decades, and what has been discovered is that we are all prone to identifiable and predictable miscalculations. Research by psychologists and behavioral economists, including the Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman and his research partner Amos Tversky, identified a number of areas in which we fairly dependably fail. They called such a tendency a cognitive bias, and there are many of them, a lot of ways in which our own minds trip us up. For example, we suffer from an optimism bias. That is, we tend to think that however likely a bad thing is to happen to most people in our situation, it's less likely to happen to us. Not for any particular reason, but because we're irrationally optimistic. Because of our present bias, when we need to take a small, easy step to bring about some future good, we fail to do it, not because we've decided it's bad, but because we procrastinate. We also suffer from a status quo bias, which makes us value what we've already got over the alternatives, just because we've already got it, which might, of course, make us react badly to new laws, even when they are really an improvement over what we've got. And there are more. The crucial point is that in some situations, it's just difficult for us to take in the relevant information and choose accordingly. It's not quite the simple ignorance Mill was talking about, but it turns out that our minds are more complicated than Mill imagined. Like the guy about to step through the hole in the bridge, we need help. It is always a mistake when someone does something imprudent. When, in this case, a person chooses to chug 32 ounces of soda? No, for some people that's the right choice. They don't care that much about their health, or they won't drink too many big sodas, or they just really love having a lot of soda at once. But laws have to be sensitive to the needs of the majority. That doesn't mean laws should trample the rights of the minority, but that public benefit is a legitimate concern, even when that may inconvenience some. So, do these laws mean that some people will be kept from doing what they really want to do? Probably. And yes, in many ways, it hurts to be part of the society governed by laws, given that laws aren't designed for each one of us individually. Some of us can drive safely at 90 miles per hour, but we're bound by the same laws as the people who can't. because individual speeding laws aren't practical. Giving up a little liberty is something we agree to when we agree to live in a democratic society that is governed by laws. The freedom to buy a really large soda, all in one cup, is something we stand to lose here. For most people, given their desire for health, that results in a net gain. For some people, yes, it's an absolute loss. It's just not much of a loss. Of course, what people fear is that this is just the beginning. Today, it's soda. Tomorrow, it's the guy standing behind you making you eat your broccoli, floss your teeth, and watch PBS NewsHour every day. What this ignores is that successful paternalistic laws are done on the basis of a cost-benefit analysis. If it's too painful, it's not a good law. Making these analyses is something the government has the resources to do, just as now it sets automobile construction standards, while considering both the need for affordability and the desire for safety. Do we care so much about our health that we want to be forced to go to aerobics every day and give up all meat, sugar, and salt? No, but in this case, it's some extra soda. Banning a law on the grounds that it might lead to worse laws would mean we could have no laws whatsoever. In the old days, we used to blame people for acting imprudently and say that since their bad choices were their own fault, they deserved to suffer the consequences. Now we see that these errors aren't a function of bad character, but of our shared cognitive inheritance. The proper reaction is not blame, but an impulse to help one another. That's what the government is supposed to do, help us get where we want to go. It's not always worth it to intervene, but sometimes, where the costs are small and the benefit is large, it is. That's why we have prescriptions for medicine. And that's why, as irritating as it may initially feel, the soda regulation is a good idea. It's hard to give up the idea of ourselves as completely rational. We feel as if we lose some dignity, but that's the way it is, and there's no dignity in clinging to an illusion. All right, that is our story for today. There were some pretty big words in there, so I'm going to go through a few of those. So it kept talking about this soda ban. In 2013, New York City passed a law prohibiting soda containers larger than 16 ounces in volume. The New York Court of Appeals later overturned the law. So if you go there now, you can get more than a 16-ounce cup of soda. But in 2013, that was the biggest you could get. You couldn't go get a 32-ounce. So John Stuart Mill, that was talked about on page 278, he lived from 1806 to 1873, and he was a British philosopher. So this is going back to philosophical discussions here. Cognitive, which was used a lot, is related to thinking. So it's describing your thinking. PBS NewsHour is a television news program that we have. It's not very famous that I know of right now. It used to be more popular than it is. Right now you hear like the large names like Fox and CNN and that kind of stuff, but PBS NewsHour is also an option. Paternalistic means protective but controlling in the manner of a parent. So paternal is talking about parent. So here it's talking about laws that basically parent the citizens. All right, so that is what I have for you today. Don't forget to check out your quick write with 5 good sentences. I do have my office hours today from 8 a.m. to noon on Google Meet. The information will be on your classroom page. I missed check-ins from a huge number of students between 7th and 12th. So, unfortunately, it is 5 points now. So, if you don't check in with me by Sunday night, then you lose your 5 points for the week, okay? You need to be checking in with me. I want to hear from you guys. So, whether it's a text, an email, just popping into Google Meet, it takes like a minute or two. And you can even pop in by phone. You don't have to video chat with me. Those are your options. There are lots of options. You can PM me on one of your assignments or something like that. But you need to check in with me once a week, okay? So make sure you're getting that done. All right. We will talk more about this story tomorrow. Have a good day, and I will see you later.